Welcome everyone to episode 2 of 1% Better Every Day with Samkelo Ndeta. I am your host and I'm super excited to have a guest with me here in studio. His name is Matt Kavanagh. Chris Kavanagh is someone that I've worked with for over a year and a half, and I can easily say that he's had a huge impact on my life personally through how he does his approach when it comes to coaching. I initially met him when he was the director of talent acquisition and training at Educate, Iman Gaji's company. Before then, he was working at 7th level with Jeremy Minor, as well as Matt Gray's company. And Chris Kavanagh has been someone who has probably had an impact on so many people who are working in the online space in the form of sales development representatives. He's currently in recruitment where he primarily works with offshore talent, specifically in third world countries like South Africa. And so that's part of the reason why we work together. We collaborate quite often on things like Summit Sales Institute with the intention of developing and supporting more offshore talent, giving more young South African individuals an opportunity to get into the online space, into the space that we're in. And so if you are interested in watching this episode and you take the time to watch it, you're going to learn about what the online space is all about, how Chris got involved, and what some of the plans that we've got are, and how you can get involved with some of the plans that we've got. Mr. Chris Kavanagh.
Hi.
Super excited to have you here, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How's South Africa so far?
I love it. We went to Cape, Johannesburg. Now we're here in Durban. I like Durban.
Yeah?
Really? The beach is nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm glad you came, and I hyped up the weather quite a lot. I told you it would be the warmest place to be. Has it met those standards?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, man, super excited to have you here. Since we've been planning this podcast, I'm in disbelief that it's been 2 years since we've known each other.
Close to it, yeah. Almost.
Close to 2 years.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. We must have met around 2023 mid-year or towards
the mid-year 2023.
Yeah. And at the time, Chris was the director of talent acquisition and training for Educate, Iman Gaji's company. And at the time, I was transitioning into a sales role there at the company. And Chris was the person who kind of helped train me and helped me kind of build up my skill set in sales. And through his training and support, I actually ended up developing quite an interest in sales. And I think we've been inseparable since through just phone calls at irregular hours around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., me needing some assistance from Chris and Chris hitting me up every now and again looking for talent specifically in South Africa. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to have you here. Excited that you've finally come to the motherland, as you said. But yeah, I mean, let's just chat through some of the last developments in the last 2 years, because I know you've been up to quite a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, even with yourself too, right? We departed ways, both of us, with Iman quite a bit ago, and then you yourself, I mean, with the company that you were working at, like how many teams were you managing at once?
Geez, over 18 at one stage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
18 teams and a total of about 80 to 100 salespeople.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like over 11 million in revenue for yourself.
Yeah.
Or what you generated for your clients. So it's impressive. We've both come a long way. So it's good.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
You're someone in the space who keeps a fairly low profile, but I think anyone who knows you knows that you're making moves, and I think a lot of people to an extent depend on you. I know obviously that you staff and recruit and train quite a number of teams, and your extent or your reach with talent is global. I've never seen you staffing only in one region. I think you're doing it all across the world, and that's part of the reason why you're traveling all around the world right now.
Going to Ethiopia next. We have a call center in Ethiopia.
Tell me more about that, actually. I think probably not everyone knows about that, because that's sort of like a in-person operational aspect of your business, but tell me more about that.
The goal down the line is to obviously do something like that here, but the industry that we're in, as you know, like high ticket info, coaching, all that stuff, it's going through a lot of changes, and the biggest problem is talent acquisition. There's a lot of young people in the industry that were sold a dream through an online advertisement, but to be able to actually find someone that's like competent, that's going to stay in your company long term and help it grow with you, it's very, very hard. And it's kind of just the dynamic that we're in Western society of like, especially like the young males that typically get into space, they get in their solar dream, they, land a role within a company and they get, shiny object syndrome, they leave to do another service or get into drop shipping, or maybe they try to get to another role where they get paid more, right? So really like lack of loyalty. And there's both, sides to blame for that. Some business owners don't do their due diligence of actually making the sales reps want to stay, but then the sales reps don't give any reason for the business owner to keep them. So there's both sides of the responsibility. But one thing that I've realized is that like there's tens of thousands of competent, hardworking offshore people that are loyal, that are consistent, that will do their job, that will clock in and clock out, hit KPIs. And that's what's really needed in the industry that we're in of, high ticket and info product. And we do different industries. But what I try to do for the people, but then also the industry, is to just connect good people with good people and provide that predictability and consistency that offshore talent can do, that onshore talent in the US and Canada and Europe don't typically deliver.
Yeah, so. Not willing and interested, perhaps, in being around for the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a bit of that myself. I think in my early days of running a sales agency, I was looking mostly to Europe and North America for staffing.
Yeah.
And what I typically started seeing is lack of commitment. And this is nothing to everyone or all talents in those regions.
I give you the pass, bro. You can.
You give me the pass.
Yeah, you can.
What do we call it? The Europe pass.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is not to everyone. But typically, if you don't meet a certain income requirement that they have, that they want to be earning, let's say $3,000 to $4,000 a month, which is understandable for them because they want to be obviously earning enough to justify the time that they're spending. As well as just everything you mentioned in terms of not being in it for the long run if maybe the offer doesn't meet a lot of their needs. Whereas when you look to offshore talent, typically that starting pay that we offer a lot of the time, for most people, based in certain parts of the world, third world countries, for them it's like life-changing income, life-changing opportunity, the opportunity to kind of step out of this 9-to-5 corporate environment, but rather work from home, develop a skill set that you can, kind of use to chart your own journey.
Yeah. So that's why we do offshore mostly. Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about this call center.
It's the one in Ethiopia in specific. They all have American-sounding accents, and that's the kind of big needle mover for a lot of our clients. And the reason why they work with us is because we give you American-sounding, competent talent for typically on average like 1/3 of the price, right? Like if you hire an SDR, they may want to make $5,000 to $7,000 a month, but these guys, they're the same skill level, but they get paid $1,000 to $2,000 a month, and they're enthralled, they're more loyal, they're in a physical location. We even have transport, bringing them from the office to home. There's independent infrastructure in our office because African infrastructure is weak. We have independent generators, internet, and all that stuff. So
I'm going to kick you out if you say African infrastructure.
On average. So it's more of we just provide that consistency, but. The kind of bigger picture thing is that I think call centers are a really scalable thing, and it helps both sides. It solves a very big problem, and there's a lot of talk of AI agents, and there's this whole kind of thing, and if it becomes widespread, we'll adopt it. But I think that offshore talent's going to grow in parallel with AI agents. So that's just my perspective on it.
Yeah, I'm smiling from ear to ear because you mentioned that the talent in Ethiopia is American sounding. Obviously, we've been hanging out for the last couple of days, and I think I overheard one of your phone calls.
Yeah.
I thought you were on a Zoom call with people from America.
Yeah.
And then after a while, as I'm listening to the conversation, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking to the Ethiopian talents. And I was hearing straight up, if I must be transparent, white Americans.
White Americans,
Only to find that he's on a call with 5 Ethiopians.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No, it's
amazing.
good, and they're more skilled, hungry, and committed than the people that you find that someone that lives in Ohio in their mom's basement. You know, like it's the same parallel, and they're better. So it's a win-win on both sides. It feels good to give them opportunities, and they obviously want it. So
Yeah. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why we've connected. I can't even remember when we started having this conversation. It actually
Yeah.
probably started out as a WhatsApp group, very typical
Yeah.
of the way you operate.
yeah,
But it's like we almost had a shared interest and connection
yeah,
because I also started largely pivoting to South African talent.
yeah,
I was also starting to see a lot of the clients I was working with were very happy to accommodate and work with South African talent
yeah,
for the very reasons that you've mentioned.
yeah,
The neutral accent, good communication skills,
Yeah.
just people showing up every day, work ethic wise, and then it being a life changing opportunity for them, you know,
yeah,
compared to the guy in North America or Europe where
yeah,
the standards need to be a little bit higher for it to make sense.
yeah,
But we started connecting on that, and then here we are now, kind of running these events with
Yeah,
the
man.
intention of kind of scaling up these operations, of getting more young South Africans to look into the online space, the
Yeah.
remote world, and particularly learn the skill of sales.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's pretty well said. Yeah,
So, Chris, I think you might be one of the most prime people to kind of, one of the most prime guests, at least on this podcast, to give us a full breakdown of the space that we operate in. And you've
Yeah.
kind of spoken a bit about it in the beginning of the episode.
yeah,
But for anyone listening who's always wondering, who are these people? Why do they post so much on social media? What is it exactly that they do that
Yeah.
allows them to travel and do these, you
Yeah.
know, can you give them a kind of a full breakdown of this online info space, coaching, these other niches, and
I
then
know, I know it can be extremely confusing.
Mm.
But putting it simply, like what's happening in the U.S. And most Western countries is the concept of like alternative education. So there's many different forms of alternative education, but what people are fleeing towards is coaching, specifically outside of colleges and universities that most people go to. Right, most people are now realizing, especially in the U.S. Like, why would I go to college or university, pay a ridiculous amount of tuition to go to classes to learn about something that I don't necessarily even agree with or like, and to learn from a professor that makes 10 times less than what I want to make, that doesn't even enjoy what he's teaching, right? Instead, I'm going to find someone, or they find someone online that's a big influencer on Instagram that has a lot of content, that posts thoughtful, advice for business or fitness. And people are more inclined to want to learn from those people rather than, college and universities. So like what we're seeing in like real time is billions of dollars a year being ripped away from learning institutions and invested into this kind of new market. And how it kind of ties back to your initial question is, for this industry to scale, because it's a brand new industry, by the way, right? It's not like it's like insurance or real estate where it's been in, across the world, where it's a market everywhere across the world. It's like it's brand new, right? So keeping that in mind, like what's needed more than ever is solid sales reps, because these people have millions of followers. They need someone in their Instagram texting the leads, setting appointments with their salespeople. They need people to take inbound calls of these influencers that have millions of followers. They need someone, a solid, competent, hardworking person, to actually handle those calls and represent them properly and convert those followers into sales. So what we always look for in talent acquisition, and what we train for, is we teach you and we give you access to the right skill sets, knowledge, and people for you to learn a high income skill set like sales. And then we teach you how to transition and actually find these roles, nail interviews once you're in the roles, perform at a higher rate. So yeah, there's nothing guaranteed in life but death and taxes. But one thing we do guarantee is, if you follow what we teach you, you learn the skill sets of like sales and networking, and you just follow the steps that we teach you, it becomes very hard for you not to land a high income sales role where you're making anywhere from like $2,000 to $4,000 a month to start. And then from there, you get good at communication, you can evolve and make a lot more money. Me and you both, we know hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people that are making a living online. You obviously manage 18 accounts at a time. Per account you manage, there's probably 4 or 5 salespeople at a minimum, and then there's 5 to 6 setters. So you can kind of just see, like, you've seen it, I've seen it, but for people that are outside of it, they don't really see it, and it's not their fault, right? But our goal is to educate the average person, especially in South Africa, of like, and also Ethiopia and overseas, of like what's actually possible. So that's the kind of explanation.
Nicely said. Nicely said. Now, before we go into Summit Sales Institute and what we're working on there and these events that we're doing, I want to actually bring it back to you. When did you start and how did you start? And I know a lot of the audience watching probably doesn't have an idea of how old you are, but you're like 22, right?
Yeah, I'm 22. Yeah.
So you're still fairly young, but you're one of the people that I would say is highly experienced and has been around the block, as they'd say. So like, just tell us a bit more about how you got into the space, what triggered your interest, and how you've got into where you are at the space.
Yeah, I was in 2020. I worked at Walmart. I was pushing carts. I was in high school. 2020 was the year of COVID, and in Canada in specific, it was very strict whenever COVID happened. It happened around March, April, and then my graduation was in June. So I didn't have any school for the rest of the year. I was still working, obviously at Walmart, and I knew I wasn't going to college. I didn't apply the year before. I was going to take a gap year, and I was figuring out, okay, like, I'm not going to school. Obviously, high school ended early. Like, what am I going to do with my life? Saw an ad online selling me the dream of making money online. Very similar to what we're doing here. And then I just took the leap. I bought in. I probably invested like $2,000 into courses. And that taught me the practical skill sets of, okay, like, here's how a sales conversation should happen. Here's the industry as a whole. Here's what the opportunity is. Very similar to the conversation I just had with you. And then how you can kind of like network and find opportunities. So they kind of gave me the groundworks. So I basically joined online communities. I networked for 8 months, and I just joined these groups, tried to get jobs online, applying for them, hopping on interviews, failing, doing free roles for a bit, and then I ended up after 8 months finally landing one of my first roles, and that was with a guy called Jeremy Miner. So Jeremy's one of the biggest sales trainers in the online space. I think he's number 2 right now in terms of fastest growing sales trainers in all of the U.S. I was very lucky to be with him very early on before he blew up and became, pretty famous on social media. I was one of his first appointment setters. I grew all the way to doing closing, management, coaching, operations, marketing. So that gave me a very good groundwork. And selling salespeople sales training, it's like a deeper philosophy. It's not like you're selling marketing. Like you're selling salespeople that are hyper aware that they're being sold. So it required like a deeper level of like understanding, and it forced me to advance pretty fast. And then, as we mentioned, I then got poached by Iman and worked with you guys inside the team where I met you for a little bit. I still work with Iman in some capacity. I don't obviously manage the inside of the team.
You coach for his community, right?
Yeah, so he has, I think, over 12,000 plus members in there, and I'm one of the sales coaches in there. So I'm lucky to still do that, but I left actually managing teams and working for like individual companies around 1.5 years ago, where I decided that I want to do my own thing. And from the experience of working with Iman, he has a massive talent pool, working with Jeremy, who has a massive talent pool of sales reps. I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here. All these people need homes. There's a lot of recruiters in the industry right now that don't do it right. They're not ethical. They charge too much. And it's just quite honestly not a good experience. So I started doing recruitment, and as an extension of what we do with recruitment is obviously we do management. So we manage setting teams. Even at some points I manage closing teams. I stick in my lane with setters though. It's just what I've always been best at, developing those kind of young, hungry individuals. And then this kind of extends to what we do. So we build out appointment setting departments for DM setting and phone setting. We manage the teams, we train the teams, and then we just do recruitment. So I'm pretty well known in the space in terms of like connecting good sales reps with good sales reps, if it's either setters or closers. But it all started from me being in the trenches and me just like being in these communities, networking with people, working at these companies, building these relationships. It took a lot of sweat equity to kind of get where I was at, to like where I'm at.
Yeah, school fees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, what's been more impressive is watching how you operate over the last couple of months, and I'd even say specifically these last 2 weeks where we've been spending time together. Um, I've seen the team you have around you, mostly young people or younger at least
Yeah.
than myself and yourself, hungry, as we've discussed before, offshore, and you seem to play kind of this role where you mentor them, provide them with opportunity,
Yeah.
and then almost to an extent are hands off and allow them to kind of make do with what you provide.
Yeah.
Which then I realized that on your side, it's like you're just out here, finding opportunity, opening doors that you then bring back to these individuals that you've got around you.
Yeah.
That's been interesting to watch, actually.
Yeah. It's just a lot of people, they struggle with letting go of control. And as a business owner, if you want to scale, the number one skill set that you have to know is that like letting go of control is everything. Because the truth is that no one's gonna do the job as well as you. No one's gonna do it in the exact way that you want, but just because that's the case, it doesn't give you an excuse to not delegate. If you have big goals as a business owner, the biggest thing is like leverage. You can read any book, you can listen to any kind of podcasts. You can read from anyone that's successful. Why they're successful is because they delegate fast, and then if someone breaks their trust or they're not performative, like they take them away, but then they replace them very fast.
Yeah.
How I've been able to do that is it's very simple. Like because I coach inside of Iman's community, because I have access to all of this young talent, and that are not only just our sales reps, but they're really talented operators or very creative people, where they're getting their foot in the door as sales reps. Maybe they want to do a different thing, right? There's a lot of people, right? I'm very good at finding those people, sniping them out, and then just taking actual time to treat them like a human being and give them advice. And that advice, and sometimes I even get them into roles, it gives them a deeper level of appreciation for what I do. That creates that creates loyalty because they actually care about me, and then I care about them, and then it's just a kind of like relationship where it's just like it's become very easy for me to develop talent because I actually care about them.
Yeah, not to glaze you,
Yeah.
using the term that I'm hearing a lot of lately.
Yeah.
But not to glaze you, but if there's one thing that's different about you and a lot of other people in the space, you actually treat people like human beings.
Yeah.
I think how I've ended up developing the friendship with you and even the people I see that you've got around you, it's the time that you take in mentoring people. Like you're just as busy as I'd say anyone is.
Yeah.
But it's the time that you make on those phone calls, on those Zoom calls, and actually just taking an actual interest in where the person's at.
Yeah.
And then actually thinking about them even months down the line. Once most people think kind of like, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But still thinking about them and their journey and their development. So that's good on you.
Yeah, it's a skill set. And I mean, we won't name names, but we've both worked under certain people and under certain companies where that was the exact opposite. And I think a really key trait of being successful, if you're a sales rep or whatever, it's learning from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
And like the most important thing, and I mean, you don't have to be in the online space. Maybe you're someone watching this and you're in a job that you don't like. Maybe like you have to show up every day to a boss and like you know very well if your boss is doing a good job or not because you see it and you're probably smart and you're aware of it. But then also other people around you are either talking shit about the boss or unhappy as well, right? Like learn from that person. Like what aren't they doing and what are they doing that's making them a bad boss? And a lot of the times it's just a lack of communication. So I invest heavily in people below me because I'm inherently lazy. I don't want to do work. I'd much rather develop people to do the work for me and then give them a cut where it's like, yes, I lose money per se, but like for example, if someone pays me like 2,000 USD for recruitment, I don't even want to touch the recruitment. I'll go pay my hardworking recruiter $500. It's $2,000, and they'll do it for me, and I pocket $1,000 for doing nothing. But people don't want to let go of that control. And like we both know, a certain person that we're talking about, right? Love the guy to death. One of my, dearest friends, but he just can't let go of control, and it's just like that's why you're probably stuck where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back, you're always talking about it, but in terms of the mindset around it, whether we call it scarcity, abundance, having kind of like an inclination to control and hold on to the little, instead of kind of being open to more and being able to then kind of, I'm trying to think how to best word it, but like open yourself up to more.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing from you. It's like you've got so many of these different opportunities and kind of like pipelines that you're building, but that's because you're willing to collaborate and open up the opportunity, not just to yourself but to others around you.
Yeah. 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 It's just developing win-wins. There was this book, I think it's How to Win Friends and Influence. The most people are very self-interested, and like I think that the best thing in business, if you're a sales rep looking to get a job, or if you're a business owner looking to make more money, is just develop like win-wins. So I try to do my best with the people that I develop, like the sales reps that I manage, of like developing win-wins. And like what I mean by that is like, okay, like my time's valuable. I'm open to taking extra time to developing you guys and like taking time one-on-one with all of you guys, if that means that you are taking extra time to develop your skill set and do the extra mile, where we create a win-win where you get my time if you do the good performance. So I think it's just a dynamic where it's all about kind of framing and like positioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's take it to Summit Sales Institute and why we're doing these events that we're doing. Obviously, I've shared to you, but like I didn't. I heard you mention that you started off because you saw an ad, and through seeing the ad, you started investing in the education.
Yeah.
I don't think that was my journey, at least. I heard a little bit about this idea of working remotely
Yeah.
from a friend who
Yeah.
just mentioned specifically Imon Gaji. And I ended up going and following a couple of people in the space, and I was very fortunate to just send over one DM to Paul Daly at the time, the CEO of Educate, and he was very nice and literally offered me an interview, and then I took the interview and ended up getting the role. And it was through that I ended up kind of working and getting involved in the space. And then from there on, it was just everything you've mentioned in terms of growing skill set,
Yeah.
seeing opportunity, taking on the next thing. And yeah, so the reason why I'm talking about this is that over this 2-year period that I've been in the space, I'm still not seeing enough South Africans getting involved in the space. And obviously you're aware that we live in a country where we have like I think it's 60% youth unemployment rate.
That's crazy.
60%.
Yeah.
60% of young people are unemployed.
Yeah.
And they're actively looking for work.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been obviously sold. I don't know if it's a dream, but
A Forex course.
well, okay, Forex course also. But a lot of people were told, go to university, go get a degree, and you'll be safe.
Yeah.
That's security. You're going to get a job. That hasn't been the case. You know what? I caught wind of this so early, and I'm not even sure what it was, but like, just like you having made that decision that you're not going to take that next step of going to university and applying for a specific degree, I caught wind of it early, and I was kind of going down that route in terms of I had very set my intentions that I was going to go and become a doctor, and I was going to go to university and study, and I had the grades at the time. And I just caught wind of this idea that, you know what, I don't think this country has jobs. And even these jobs that are kind of the ones that are made to be the best, I thought to myself, this is not it, in terms of pay grade and the circumstances that you work under. So I just made a decision, which I've been doing a lot of over the years in terms of just having a hunch and sticking by it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to kind of pay my own way. And that's exactly what happened in terms of getting into the space. But a lot of people, in my opinion, and with what I've been seeing, number one, aren't exposed to this online space, which is why I was saying, could you please like give an idea as to what it is and what it's all about? But they aren't exposed to it. And then there's also a lack of knowledge and information in terms of how to actually get in.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've been having that conversation with you over the months to say, hey, I really think there's good talent here, highly educated to a large extent, good English, great potential. I mean, we've been going to some great steakhouses across the country, and you've been seeing some of the people that have been serving us. They've been really great, very welcoming and accommodating. Those are the type of people that could excel in the space.
Yes.
But there's just a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
And that's why we've started the Summit Sales Institute.
Yeah. It's to essentially, in a good way, prop you up as the go-to person and reliable person to help people bridge that gap and make them more aware of the skill set of sales and the high income potential of you improving your, I guess, communication skills. So that's the goal of this. And then like with you, right? It's like the more overseas people that we can get into the U.S. market, I think the better. So they're in need. It's a very big issue in the U.S. where, and maybe this is a controversial opinion, but like I don't think we need more young people in the U.S. working white collar. I feel like we need more blue collar workers in the U.S. and Canada. We need people building the roads, building the houses, actually developing the country, and a lot of the white collar work can be, offloaded to people that are extremely competent overseas. So that's my philosophy, and that's what I want to do because I think it's best for both sides. We need more construction workers in Canada. We need more people actually building stuff because if we continue down the road that we're going down, I don't think we'll have a great future. So.
Yeah. I think to a large extent, now let's bring this back to the offshore talent side.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, like you mentioned, people in the US are sometimes sold a dream in terms of work in the online space, work from your parents' basement, do a little bit of work for a while, and you're going to become super rich. Is that it? Or could you phrase it differently?
That's pretty much it, yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Here, I think there might be, number one, a huge lack of awareness in terms of the space itself, which is what we're doing in terms of raising the awareness. And then secondly, a lot of the time when people think of offshore jobs, they think of a call center.
Yeah.
And every time you use the word call center, even though I 100% understand what it means, I cringe.
Yeah.
Because obviously our intention is to build something a little bit more different than a call center.
Yeah.
So call centers, typically in South Africa, everyone has this idea of like almost like a slave type environment where you have to clock in at 8 a.m. and you're probably going to leave after 6. And the pay is not good and it's toxic management and etc. But what we've been working towards in terms of having these conversations and striking these partnerships that we're doing across the country with spaces is to do like a hub space where we give people access to an environment where they can have infrastructure in the sense of Wi-Fi as well as computers and resources to do what they need to do. And then obviously with what we're doing with Summit Sales is to connect them to opportunities, their first online role.
Yeah.
And give them basically that starting ground where they can, do some work, make some money, and then go out there and, live their best life in a remote space.
And I think most importantly, it's also giving them a career trajectory, like giving them a direction. Yeah. So, yeah. That's it.
So, I mean, my personal vision and interest with Summit Sales is to just give people what I didn't have.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to a large extent to be able to find the information myself. And that's some of the conversations we've been having with the individuals who have been attending the events. It's like have conversations with strangers, network, take things seriously, act on them. If I think back to the last 2 years, it's been through phone calls with you, dinners with certain individuals where I'll hear something, and you've been saying this a lot, but like knowing is not enough, you must apply. That whole Bruce Lee quote, application. So simply just hearing information and going and applying it. I've seen the power of that in terms of being able to make something of it. And so I was fortunate because I was already kind of putting myself out there, networking, having conversation with strangers, connecting with people on social media, posting, building some form of a personal brand, even with little experience and knowledge of the space, but kind of making the most of what I had. Now, that isn't everyone's situation. And certainly it did take me a longer time to do what I've wanted to do than I think it would have had I invested in education, maybe had I put myself in a group like what we've started now. And so we're trying to kind of bridge that gap for a lot of individuals where by coming through to one of our events, one of our workshops that we're hosting all across the country, or even just by signing up for our community, where they have all the information, all the resources, all the support that they need to literally go from lack of knowledge experience to taking action and actually landing their first role and being able to be in the position that, as I said, has taken me about a year and a half or 2 years to get to. And so, let's talk a bit about that. Hey guys, really hope you're enjoying this episode of 1% Better Every Day. I just wanted to make a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Summit Sales Institute. If you're watching this video and you're interested in becoming a sales rep or getting into the online space and making money online, our sponsor, Summit Sales Institute, has one of the fastest growing and best programs for sales reps. If you've ever considered becoming a sales rep and are wanting to get mentored by some of the best in the industry, sales leaders who have generated over 30 million US dollars for their clients, I would highly encourage you to join Summit Sales Institute. You can find them on School under the name Summit Sales Institute, or you can click the link in the description below where you'll be able to join the community.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of your philosophies, and I actually like a lot of them. But like you speak about how we're not necessarily bringing people on to the community that we've got, as well as the events. Everyone's out there selling a course of some sort and making people dependent on them. They're the plug. Obviously, we're recruiters, and to a large extent, we have opportunities that we give people access to. But one thing I hear you say everywhere we go, to everyone we coach and mentor, you're always saying the same thing. We're here to teach you how to fish for yourself. Put you in the driving or the driver's seat of being able to create your own career path. And then you go further and you say that the best thing they can do is to help others. And I'm saying that all to say, it sounds like we've got less of a course and less of a community, but more of a movement here.
Yeah, 100%. What happens a lot with like call centers and a lot of like trainings in general is that like there's a guarantee attached to it, right? And I don't think there's anything guaranteed in life but death and taxes. So I don't think you ever hear a guarantee coming out of our mouth, because if you don't apply, you're not going to get the results. But a lot of the times, like these trainings, like they'll teach you like how to sell. They'll teach you the practical skill sets. They'll teach you what to say when. But what they rarely teach you is like, okay, like not only how to sell, but how can you actually network, build your own personal brand, find opportunities yourself, nail interviews yourself, and really grow a sustainable career, right? Because just like any industry can be volatile, and we are not in the business of placing you in businesses that, you know, we only manage, right? Like we want to teach you how to fish and like find opportunities yourself. And then that in turn is going to help other people get inspired, and it'll really create like a bigger picture movement, right? So like, I think a lot of people are inherently selfish, and then they isolate people from like the real truth of, okay, here how you can become independent. Because what I see a lot is like, okay, there's like a really, really good piece of talent that's like very valuable to the company. The business owner or the call center owner or whatever we're calling it, they purposely don't tell that really good piece of talent how they can like find the same opportunity elsewhere or find them somewhere else that pays them more. Why? Because they want them to stay with that. Right, but what ends up happening is that person's educated, he's smart, he's going to find another opportunity, right? What you want to do as a leader is you want to foster an environment where you educate them on all the other opportunities out there, but they want to stay with you regardless because of what you've created as a business and your growth. So that comes down to if you're actually like having a good business and you actually want to grow and help people, right? But I think it's just like the best thing you can do is like teach people what's possible, and then they're so appreciative of what you show them what's possible and how to be independent that they'll come back to you just out of appreciation, or at a bare minimum they're going to refer you someone, a friend or a sales rep that's just as good as them. And then it's going to create this whole movement of like them bringing their friends in, because we're teaching them how to be independent. We're not isolating them to a call center role. Like we're actually teaching you how you can find a role yourself and work completely independent of us.
That is very
And you always
powerful.
come back because we gave you the free value. Then there's just so much like so much like sweat equity.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I mean, I can't stress enough. I think once again, as much as I admit, I think I was very fortunate. I'm not sure exactly what I would say the fortune was, but maybe my mindset or something.
Yeah.
We've had a bit of a chat about that in terms of like the action taker as opposed to the overthinker.
Yeah.
The one doesn't think much, therefore takes action, and the one overthinks to the point of not taking any action. And so I know for a fact at that stage, I did very little thinking. I would just like, I want that, take action on that, make it happen, do that. And so it's gotten to a point where these lessons that I've learned, I'm in a position where I want to kind of teach the average or South African individual who doesn't have access to that information. And let's be honest, a lot of this information that's being taught is being sold in US dollars for amounts that would probably take most people maybe a year, 2 years to
Yeah.
save up
Yeah.
if they had a job to even, kind of.
Yeah.
And so we started off offering it for free, and we've had that debate almost back and forth together and amongst other people. Is like, hey, look, we're doing this for free because we genuinely want to help people
Yeah.
get the information and make the most of it. But we've U-turned now and put a price to it because you've been one of the people, at least, that's been swaying my mind around whether it should be free or paid. What's that line you always say?
People pay to pay attention.
People pay to pay attention. So lines like that, and obviously with some of what I've seen myself in terms of just like, it's I suppose to an extent it's true. It's like
Yeah.
investments are the ones that individuals take seriously if they have to kind of put something forward
Yeah.
in investing in themselves.
Yeah, people just don't value information anymore. Information's everywhere. So if you actually want to get something out of anything that you do in life, you got to pay for it in some sort of way, some sort of sacrifice. If it's money, if it's time, or if it's energy. But if you don't actually make that investment, then you're just going to value it as something that's free subconsciously in your mind. You're not going to actually use what is being taught to the fullest extent, right? So it's the exact same philosophy of like the psychology of why universities and colleges pay so much. Like it doesn't actually cost them $80,000 to educate you for a year or whatever, right? They charge that much so that you come in, you take it more seriously. And obviously the economics here are a little bit different, like you said. Like we don't want to charge an extremely like high-priced USD based program, but we want to make it somewhere in the middle where it's affordable enough for people that really want it, but it's not expensive enough to make it completely unattainable. It kind of fits in the middle where like it's not like a crazy investment, but you feel like, okay, I actually got to do something with it.
You know where you got me?
What?
The part where I made the decision for us to actually say, okay, let's put a price to it. It was when you said the price will attract the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point. I mean, the right people will
see the value and.
Yeah, but it's not only that, but like it's just this common thing of like if you don't invest into a mentorship to get you access to the right skill sets, knowledge, and people, what else don't you invest to in your own life? Do you invest in your physical health, your proper fitness, proper relationships with your family? Like what else don't you invest into if you don't invest into your education, to your future? So it tells you a lot about the person. But yeah, no, it just tells you a lot about the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, Chris, tell us a bit more about yourself. I think besides obviously your upbringing from Canada, as well as your experience getting into the space, who's Chris in terms of day to day? Obviously, the name of the show is 1% Better Every Day. And I'm kind of glad that I get an opportunity to typically see and get to know the guest before we sit down here. But like, if you could just tell us a bit about how Chris operates. I mean, I can tell you a bit about that if you wanted me to. But
yeah, well, I'm a very bigger picture guy. Like I hate being in the weeds of businesses. I hate dealing with the softwares. I even hate meetings to a further extent. I'm a very creative person, and that creativity has put me to like where I'm at today. whenever you're creative, though, you kind of lack focus per se on doing one thing. So my main focus in the past 6 months is focusing on like one thing and scaling one thing and building something bigger that everyone can fit into and everyone can benefit from. Because I'm lucky to be so tapped into the market and we've worked with some of the biggest people in the space. Um, it's very easy to see common trends, and I don't want to speak specifically on like what I'm building yet, but my bigger picture is to bring more people together, right? Because it's like, okay, I have these call centers in Ethiopia. You know, what we're building with you. I obviously have access to dozens and dozens of like the biggest sales coaches in the industry. I know some of the biggest done for you sales management companies. We both know, so it's like what this industry lacks is a centralized place. And there are, platforms like School and, WAP that are trying to create that concept of community and centralized ecosystems. But I feel like with the connections that I have, the relationships that I've built, and the kind of vision that I have, I feel like we have a very good chance to do something that the industry hasn't done before and do it the right way. So my goal right now is just finding the right partners, and then building the right people below me, which is what you've seen with my team, them getting bought into it and all that stuff. So
Yeah. And you operate very different from, I'd say, most people in the space. As much as I like that you mentioned that you don't like meetings, but like you do take quite a number of meetings in a day, but you probably don't take them the same way most people behind their laptop, kind of sitting there all day, going through meetings. But like you kind of get a lot done in bursts of energy.
yeah. Or I just get someone else to do it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm inherently a lazy guy. I spend a lot of time on Instagram Reels. I mean, I'm just like everyone else, but I like my free time. I like having a large amount of time to myself and being able to think and just like, read and all that stuff. I think everyone's at different phases in their life, and I'm just in a phase where I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm growing up relatively young, becoming more of a man, learning who I want to become and all that stuff. Really just getting educated on the world and how it works. That's why I love traveling. That's why I love meeting people like you. That's why I like actually going to places like this, because if you stay in the same physical location and geography, especially like where you grew up, it's just going to hinder your kind of growth.
Yeah, mind altering experiences.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, some people, they're not as fortunate to be able to travel, but if you learn the right skill sets, you get access to the right coaching, which is what we deliver, and you apply what we teach you, and you do that for a greater amount of time, it's going to become much more easier for the person watching this if they know they need to change in their environment to actually do it. Even if that's changing, going to a different city or going to a different country, wherever your passport may allow, like doing those things. But whenever you first get that first taste of internet money, you can never go back to another job. Like the hardest part is just like starting. And I know it's easier said than done because like it's overwhelming. You got to learn the skill set of sales and networking and putting yourself out there and then balancing your other job. And then you have relationship with your, girlfriend and your, it's like all this whole like dynamic that all kind of puts together, right? But it just comes down to how bad do you want to advance in your career? How bad do you want to learn communication skills that's going to set you up for the rest of your life? And how bad do you want to earn USD and be able to support your family? Like, how bad do you want it, right? Because if you want it, then you'd be doing it, right? And again, the disconnect is like, how do you actually start? What do you do? Where do you go? So that's what the sales summit is. It kind of bridges that gap. Like, if you know you want those things that I've just mentioned, but there's a lot of information on how to do it, and you're kind of struggling of like a structured, consistent way, this is what the community provides. Yes.
Chris, it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. If anyone is watching the episode and would like to connect with you and see where you're traveling to next and what you're up to, where would be the best place for them to reach you?
Instagram. You can follow me at Chris M. Kavanagh, Kavanagh.
Okay, we're gonna put that because I'm not gonna read that out. It's in my head, but Chris M. Kavanagh. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's been a great pleasure to have you. It's been a long time coming. As I said, over a year and a half plus, having known you. And I can certainly say that knowing you has been a great blessing because the source you drop on phone calls, no matter how late they are. This is one of the few people who calls me at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'll stay up for his call. I may be working up till like maybe I'm looking at you and not the camera, but I may be working up until like 2 a.m. If Chris says let's do a call, I'll stay up until he's done and we'll do our call because every time we finish a phone call, I have something to do to work towards that I'm definitely going to see benefit from. And so I just want to say thank you for that. And it's also a great pleasure to have you here in South Africa and for joining us in studio for this podcast.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Good job, bro.